Yeah.
She went on this guy, Jay Shetty's podcast, and he asked her something about her greatest fear as of late. And here's what she said.
This current climate for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants. So it's not the fear for myself anymore. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama. I do still worry about my daughters in the world, even though they are somewhat recognizable. So my fears are for what I know is happening out there in streets all over the city. And now that we have leadership that is sort of indiscriminately determining who belongs and who doesn't, and we know that those decisions aren't being made with courts and with due process, and, that it's being made like this cop that pulled my brother over when he was 12. You don't look like somebody that belongs. I can determine just by looking at you that you're a good person or you're not a good person. And knowing that there's so much bias and so much racism and so much ignorance that fuels those kind of choices, I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me. It keeps me up at night. How do you feel comfortable going to work, going to school, when you know that there could be people out here judging you and who could upend your life in a second? That's who I worry for right now.
There's so much in there, Tucker. I'll let you take a swing at it first.
Well, I mean, my first response is it feels so antique. It feels so 2017. It's like literally nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. All of those talking points, people of color under attack. No, they're not. They're coming here by the millions because this is the safest country for everybody, no matter what your color is, or it was in any case. So like that's just so old-fashioned. I mean, it's really like you expect her to say, let me fax you my thoughts on this. Because it's just like she's so out of it. The second thing is that like we always beat up on, rich white ladies because they're the most disruptive force in America. But that's unfair. It's not about color. There's something about the people with the most in our country that's really poisonous. They're the unhappiest, they're the most restless, they're the most self-involved. They're the least generous. They're the most annoying. And it's not just a gender thing. It's men too. But there's something about America at this moment where the unhappiest people are also the most privileged. And I think it does tell you something deep about accumulating money or worshiping money. It like doesn't fill the empty space at all. It doesn't, Larry Fink is a miserable person in real life despite having billions of dollars. And of course, personally, and I do too, a lot of deeply unhappy billionaires, way more unhappy than the guy fixing your air conditioning. So there is like, it's a theological principle that I think is worth saying out loud. Worshiping money, worshiping power, organizing your life so you get more of both does not give you peace or happiness. In fact, it seems to produce the opposite. People like Michelle Obama, who's drowning in Lake Me. I mean, Michelle Obama is literally going down for the third time into this pool of self-involvement, and you don't think she's going to come up again. Like she's dying of affluence, privilege, and self-obsession, obviously.
Everything she says is negative. We've been watching clips from her podcast over the past couple of weeks. Everything she says is negative. I mean, you would never know you are hearing from a woman who is first lady for 8 years, has become probably a billionaire by this point, is out on David Geffen's yacht every other summer, her estate in Martha's Vineyard, her daughters who went to these Tony schools. You would think you were listening to somebody basically like the wife of a George Floyd. And she's never gotten over whatever grievance she had growing up. I love how the soundbite begins. Okay, it's not the fear for myself. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama. Unbelievable, right? Who talks about themselves that way? Even if you are Michelle Obama. Barack Obama doesn't talk about himself that way. It's just like the hubris. And then this is the part that jumped out to me more than any other. I do still worry about my daughters in the world. even though they are somewhat recognizable. In other words, she's worried that as mixed race girls, they're going to get picked up like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 gang member, and whisked off to El Salvador. That is what she's saying, Tucker. And you know what? I think she is lying there at night thinking that. That's what she thinks of America.
Of course she is. Of course. But she's just so miserable, and it's obvious and always has been. And I do think maybe so you look at something like that and you're like, okay, what are the lessons for me? You know, you look at other people's lives and they either go up or down, they succeed or they fail, and you try to take important lessons for yourself in your own life. And one of the lessons that I've always thought Michelle Obama's life presented to the rest of us is take some time to focus on your marriage. If you're happy in your marriage, you know, you can feel it, you can smell it. You know, you're emanating a kind of peace, a tranquility. You know, you're going home to a spiritual fortress, you know what I mean, with your spouse. And people who have deeply unhappy marriages and all of it, you know, everyone's been through periods of unhappiness, and you know, there's nothing more destabilizing than that. And you do feel like for the grasping, climbing, you know, acquiring class of which she's a charter member, like there's no time to focus on this one person in your own home, or maybe even your own children. Like they're all about, you know, I want to deal with Netflix and I want a Kennedy Center Honors Award and me. And they sort of miss the point, which is in a normal life, your marriage is the core of everything. A happy marriage produces happy people and happy children. And I just don't think she spent a lot of time on that. I mean, she really dislikes her husband. Super obvious. I'm not just saying that to be catty. I think I'm trying to feel compassion for her, but her hostility toward the guy is like unbelievable. And it's been
everything
obvious
she says is negative.
About him,
I mean,
for
how
sure,
long have we known each other?
2007.
I can't even think of one negative comment you've ever made about Susie. I almost never say negative things about Doug. It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're perfect. It's just like when I think about him, I don't immediately go to whatever's negative. I go to what's positive and what I love about him. And there's a ton.
Well, actually,
and I've seen
last
you do
time
that
I
with your
saw
wife
you,
too.
you said you were off camera telling me how great Doug is. I mean, that's just a fact. I remember it really vividly. In fact, I told my wife about it. No, those are the markers of actual success. Is your marriage happy? Are your children thriving? Are your relationships solid? Like the people around you in your orbit. And you feel like in her case, boy, the answer is no, but it's not just her. I mean, she's like a freak show and it's easy to make fun of her and I enjoy it. But I do think it's a whole class of people who are afflicted with the same kind of restlessness and rage and emptiness. And they're the ones wrecking our society. It's not the people at the bottom, it's the people at the top. And they have gone way off the rails. And she's like a perfect example of it, in my opinion.
Tariff wars, stubborn inflation, no wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs. And volatile markets like the one we have now don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. You can take control and safeguard your savings. This is why so many Americans today are turning to Birch Gold Group. They have helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against economic instability with gold? To learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account, just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, text MK to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, Birch Gold has helped so many protect their savings with gold. It took us decades to get into the tangled mess they're trying to unpack now in D.C. How long is it going to take to get out of it, and at what cost? Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.